Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the very first Gulf News Edge Fair, where we want to talk all things education. And in this first webinar of our three-day event, we're going to start with the topic of evolution of higher education across the UAE and pushing the boundaries of academic excellence. The UAE has made rapid strides in education, robustly supported by all the necessities of a world-class education hub with a vast spectrum of options. Students can choose from mainstream courses to specializations and vocational degrees. The UAE also offers a host of industry-specific courses that prepare students for the future job market. With the Emirates striving to emerge as the regional hub for the knowledge economy, universities have started to embrace the challenges of creating a dynamic and sustainable research environment, and along with the core mission of preparing and educating youngsters for the world's leading universities, have also implemented a teaching strategy encouraging challenge-driven learning, motivating students to pursue entrepreneurial initiatives. I am your moderator today. My name is Emma Brain. I've lived in the UAE since 2003 and worked in broadcasting as a presenter, a newsreader and journalist. And it's my pleasure to be here with you over the next few days. Let me introduce to you our expert panelists for this discussion. From BITS Planning, we've got Dr. Arun Saha. Hello to you. From Abu Dhabi University, we've got Dr. Srithi Nair, and from Murdoch University, Dr. James Trotter. Unfortunately, our participant from the University of West London is unable to join us due to a last-minute emergency. And before we continue, I'd like to mention a couple of small housekeeping points to our spectators. If you would like to ask a question during the webinar, please type it in for us by clicking on the questions tab at the bottom of your screen. And finally, we do have a poll running, so please take the time to record your vote on that so we can get a feel for your views as we go on through this session. So a big warm welcome to all our panelists today. It's absolutely wonderful to have you here, and I hope we have a fantastic and lively discussion. So let's get stuck into our questions then. From the best in global education and courses tailored to market needs to safety and security during the pandemic, there are many reasons why students are increasingly selecting the UAE as their destination for higher studies. What, according to you, are the top reasons to make the Emirates a popular destination for higher education? Professor Saha, if I can come to you first, please.
Oh, good afternoon to all of you, and thank you, Amy. I think there are many reasons because of which UAE or Dubai has become a higher education destination. One is that international character of the Dubai, 200 plus nationalities who are living in UAE and Dubai. That made a better attraction for the students. Most important part is the intent of UAE to grow, which made, if you see the last 5 years, several areas UAE has taken a bold step, whether it is a space, nuclear research, innovation, entrepreneurship, everything has made a lot of top level universities from world over to create their branch campus in UAE. Like I tell you, BITS Pilani has created its campus 20 years back in 2020. I think the first Indian university to open a campus here. I think that intent of development and growth of UAE and its international character, most important things also, the tolerance. That tolerance of UAE, they created a ministry of tolerance, safety, security, and the urge for growth has attracted probably more of international students to come. Another important aspect is obviously the geographical location of Dubai or UAE is a very, very important. It is closer to the Asian countries as well as it's closer to the European countries. Is a much, I think that is the important several aspect which made UAE a destination for the higher education from students of all world.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly very attractive to many. Dr. Nair, is there anything that you would like to add to that? What do you see as the draw of the UAE to international students?
Yeah, Professor Saha has already captured major points, but to add to that, I have just two addition to make. One is the safety and security. Let it be health, cultural safety, and the diversity that we follow, and the tolerance aspect itself is one very good thing. So any parent, any family would very boldly take the decision to choose Middle East, especially UAE, to be the place where they can surely send their children for higher education. So that's one thing. That's why we are able to attract a lot of international students now. Secondly, is that the bold steps that we are been taking with regard to introducing very vanilla kind of programs that is very much international part to the standards. And if you see almost all the university, take it Abu Dhabi University as a good example, we have not missed out an international accreditation. So we are benchmarking ourselves with the US accreditation. Engineering programs are accredited with ABITSO, ASSB, and EQUIS are two things for business school. So we are making sure we are also having a standard. So this is just not for our university. This is the regional sense of it, and the connectivity between the employers and the government, which is making an every moment upscaling of what needs to be done for the region and what we need to do to be globally ready. So that's kind of giving us all the support that education is a different chapter altogether. COVID is a good example, and most of the world, even advanced developed countries, shut down schools and started deciding to just block education for a long period of time. UAE did not do that. We were given 2 weeks time and we were told that are we ready, and we were ready. So that's the support the government is giving us, and which is kind of very different from any other part of the world.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, the UAE's done extremely well with keeping education going during these pandemic times. Dr. Trotter, would you like to add your opinion to this point, please?
Absolutely, thank you. I'd just like to echo some of the sentiments of Dr. Nair and Professor Saha. Dubai and the UAE are a very safe location. So people from all around the world feel comfortable sending their children here for education. And that's really important. Parents want to feel that they're sending their children somewhere that's safe, where they will be safe, where tolerance is an important value. I also think that the initiatives of the government to bring in universities from all around the world, that we have branch campuses from many different countries, means that students can come here and they have a broad choice of what kind of education they receive, what degrees they have opportunities to study. And they can do so in a very diverse, multicultural context. So you can get a degree from an Australian university like Murdoch, or from a British university or an American university. So many different countries are represented here, but you don't just get the degree from the home country, you also get that diverse international multicultural experience. And those are values and experiences that we want all of our students to have, and they can get it so easily here compared to other places.
And I'm just going to stay with you on that point, seeing as we kind of sort of brought it up. And the UAE has taken lots of initiatives to develop the higher education sector here. Do you want to carry on and talk about some more of the key developments that have shaped the higher education landscape here in the UAE?
Certainly. I think the government has encouraged the presence of universities from all around the world, while also developing a very strong and robust national university sector, so that choice again, students can choose from multiple universities, from multiple educational systems. But I think alongside that has been a really strong laser focus on quality. And so we see a quality assurance regime that has developed and grown over the years alongside the growing higher education sector to ensure that what's delivered to our students is the best possible quality. It's the highest quality in the world. And also, it's important that the local regulators, both KHDA and the CAA, have worked with regulators internationally. So they've developed relationships with regulators in other countries to ensure that best practice and best policies are implemented here. And that's been really important for the development and for the future of the sector in the UAE.
And Dr. Nair, if I can come to you, what do you see have been the biggest initiatives and growth sectors across higher education in the UAE?
Okay, so I have been in the region for almost 15 years now with higher education. And what I've seen is that the whole mindset of moving away from first generation to second generation university students. So I still remember the day one when I started in 2005. We hardly had students who used to make it to universities. And then there was this mindset of women education versus men coming into. So I have seen in 15 years a huge, drastic, evolutionary change when it comes to making education the key to the growth of the nation. So in that, if you take from when we started talking about first the 2010 agenda, then we went into 2020 agenda, then we went into 2030. Recently, we have ministry has called all the universities in the region to participate in planning for 2050 agenda. So what I would say is that we cannot have a single webinar to contain the impact and the things that UAE has done when it comes to education. We will need series of things that can be done. Just to give you a quick example that always has captured my attention is in 2014, Ministry of Higher Education suddenly decided, and that's when they decided to call it Ministry of Education, innovation should be a part of the curricula for undergraduate students. And we all started, really thinking, how are we going to do innovation as part of undergraduate curricula? And what was interesting is that they didn't just ask us to just throw us to the water and swim. They got Stanford on board. With the help of Stanford University, there was a complete training series that was conducted on including this course into undergraduate platform, where it was about talking about innovation and entrepreneurship as a thinking process, not as just something that somebody will just do it. So it was introduced as a mandated course. Every student is taking it. Initially, we had challenges how to do it, but how much the nation invested into it and how we universities grabbed the opportunities and we went with it. So I have seen that every time when the federal government is getting ready to announce their agenda for a year and so on, we are all so sharply looking at what they're going to do for the education sector. So that's where the whole thing stands. First, it was a no for distance education. Now it's so much in distance education. So we can talk a lot about it, but just these were a few examples I wanted to bring it up. So maybe others have to give others the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you. And Professor Saha, how have you seen the education landscape of the UAE's higher education sector change in your time here? What do you think the big innovations and initiatives have been?
Oh, yeah. You see, though BITS Pilani is for 20 years in UAE, but I joined from my mother campus in 2014. So at about 6.5 years I spent, I observed a great changes happened, initiatives happened, which continuously encouraging. And that can be seen from more and more foreign universities coming to Dubai or UAE itself, I'm telling you, which is indicating that the environment is conducive for expansion and quality. The most important part, I think, is the simple and open regulations, which is a regulation, but at the same time, it is not a study of other countries. Another important, the freedom to work within the regulation. They do not bother every day controlling the things, which is another important point for development, that as institute decide for the development, it is not hurdle or a breakage is coming from the regulatory authority. The most important part is the infrastructure. I'll particularly tell about the Dubai case. If I take the example, they created a Dubai International Academic City with fantastic infrastructure where the universities can have their campus. I think that is a fantastic idea to allow the universities to a location, particular location, instead of spreading in different places. Earlier, it was Knowledge Village, where Best Pilani was having campus there. Then now it has got its own campus in Dubai International Academic City. But the another important thing which is continuously taking the growth or the success or growth is expected further is the initiatives of UAE government on development in technology in other areas to make this country world leader. If you see last 5 years, this innovation, Dr. Siti Nair mentioned about it, that innovation, yes, innovation, entrepreneurship is connected. Then special initiative for space research, nuclear sciences, and so many other health. It's a very, very important the care they have taken on the health area and the way they handled the coronavirus. I think it is exemplary. Okay, I think these are the important aspects. Even I tell you, Pilani gets a lot of students from India and other countries. And this year also, we did not have the problem to get the students from other countries because health point of view, they found that UAE is much safer than probably their native country. I think these are the various initiatives which is making the working easier, but at the same time within the regulatory, then infrastructure, and then aspiration to excel is infused into the universities. That's why they are also growing and which ultimately attracting more and more international students.
I mean, it's just becoming fantastic here. Students get to come and they get to experience different cultures and different nationalities from people all over the world in such a safe and secure environment. It's fantastic. So my next question to you all is, how do you create a culture of academic excellence in your university, and how do you sustain excellence in the aspects of your operation? Professor Sahar, I'll stay with you for this one.
It is a very, very challenging thing, I tell you, frankly speaking. You know, excellence is just a word which is not a fixed one. It has to be regular. It has to be continuous, evolving has to be there. Here, I think all the universities are having a challenge how to motivate the faculty, how to motivate the students to continuously excel. So one important thing, it cannot be a single step or a fixed steps which can be done. It has to be evolved continuously. Give the example. Till say February or March 4th, all universities were in the physical classes where you are doing a certain way. Then within 2 days, government announced that campuses has to be closed down and you have to move to online. I think it was a big challenge for all the universities, but I think all the universities, including Best Pilani, has taken up the challenge. And within 48 hours, fortunately it happened, it was a Friday, Saturday. So we got these 2 holidays to move to the online. And I think there was a fantastic innovation happened where the students were giving the same feelings more or less as it is done. And the students not only in UAE, they are in India, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, etc., where they got the knowledge, because our institute is an engineering institute, which requires some good training on practical, etc. So we had a lab, remote lab, we had a lab view, so many other systems. I had fortunately a remote lab in my Indian campuses. So students were giving the access to those places to the experiment by sitting at the home. I think this is a way to excel. Now in the challenges this semester, we are doing physical as well as online both. The students who have come to campus or the scholars who are there attending the classes physically, at the same time who could not come, we are providing them live streaming or online classes, which is also challenging. So yes, we are making this use of technology, and Big Pilani is always use the technology. So use of technology and continuous changes in the approach of teaching, because a physical class teaching and online class teaching cannot be the same. It has to be totally different. I think this continuous involvement and urge to excel is making this excellence continuously forward. Yes, in that role, obviously, research, innovation, entrepreneurship is part, which you have a question separately. I may explain that one, but it is a collective thing which UAE government also helping us to excel that.
Fantastic. And Dr. Nair, if I can come to you next, how do you go about creating academic excellence and then sustaining it in your facility?
Okay, so we have a very interesting approach that we take, which is we have a quality assurance process that keeps going every time with the university, primarily when it comes to academic quality. So we have made sure that we have something called graduate attributes that students carry with them. So before you graduate, you're required to have certain skills. And what we did was we aligned these competencies and so-called skills with the World Economic Forum's announcement on the requirement of upscaling skills and the skills that is required for the future jobs in the market. So when we started doing that, we ensured that our courses, starting from year one, let it be any program, even if a student is doing, let's say, cybersecurity majors, or the student is doing artificial intelligence, or the student is doing mass communication or health sciences, the student will carry with them a set of competencies that they will use in their career. So we made sure that we have a mapping towards that. We also make sure that there is continuous learning outcome assessment assurance being taken care of. Plus, we do have got the control of two entities that are controlling our quality, which is the CAA by itself, because we have got the 5-year review submissions that we have to do. In addition to that, as I previously stated, the university also has got ABET accreditation for engineering programs. We have got REBA for architecture program. We have got ASSB and EQUIS for business school. And we have got a specific health sciences accreditation for health sciences program. Same for education we have. So all these things has extra layers of quality assurance that has to be given. In addition to that, internally, we are ensuring that we are getting our students ready and prepared for future markets. So we have created an alumni engagement process by which our alumni who are working in the region come back and speak to our current students, and they are engaging them. And so this also gets us to talk to the employers and see what are they actually looking for. I would not say we are 100% there. We are in the process, but we have been successful. And that's making us very unique and different in the way we process quality assurance at ADU. Thank you, Emma.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dr. Trotter, how do you approach academic excellence and sustain it over there at Murdoch?
Right. I think academic excellence always starts with your academic staff. And I am the biggest fan of our teaching staff. I think we have the most amazing, most highly dedicated teaching staff anywhere I've ever been. And that's where our excellence begins and ends, is their dedication and their hard work. But I think you support that through a continuous process of review and improvement. And data is absolutely vital here. You need to have the data for how things are going, get feedback from the students, analyze where the strengths and weaknesses are in your programs, and then take action when you see that there might be an issue to improve, so that you're continuously improving the delivery and the offerings that you make. And also finally, professional learning. You don't want to just hire good staff, but you want to give them opportunities to continue to develop and strengthen their own abilities so that they can bring those into the classroom.
Fantastic. And
Emma, I would like to add one important point which Pilani has said. Just 1 second only. You see, whenever we recruit new faculty, we process them through a system called intensive teaching workshop. So where they will be trained how to take a class effectively, excellent way, what are the different aspects are there. Teaching is not just going to the class and speaking something. It is how to use the blackboard, how to use the PPT effectively. All these aspects are taught to the new faculty so that they can do very well from the beginning instead of developing themselves. I think that is another important to continuation of excellence and sustaining it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Professor Saha. Jim, I'm just going to come back to you for a second. Obviously, for a lot of students, going to university it's such a daunting thing for many students to go into this higher education. It's so different from either high school or college. What steps are being taken to improve the teaching and student experience at the university?
Look, I completely understand how challenging it can feel to go to university. I was the first person in my family to go to a university, and it was quite a daunting experience to arrive on campus and try and figure out what universities were all about, because I didn't have anyone in my family who could tell me. So we tried to provide a range of support mechanisms, especially for students when they first arrive. A robust orientation, a student learning advisor who is available to give them support in terms of any learning challenges they might have. We have an equity program to support students who might have some kind of learning disadvantage or other kind of challenge, be it mental or physical. We have a counselor on staff who's available to talk to students. International students often feel homesick when they first arrive. And local students, it's, as you said, it's very different from high school. You have to get used to the fact that you have to manage your time. You're not given a schedule from early in the morning till late in the day where you have to be one moment after another. And it requires a level of maturity to adapt to managing your own time and preparing in advance for assignments that might be due. And so we also provide a range of workshops to help them to learn those skills, because we know, moving from high school to university is probably the biggest step in maturing from childhood to being an adult. So we need to provide them with a lot of support to help them do that.
And so many distractions, and for many it's living away from home for the first time in their lives. It's such a huge step. It really, really is. Dr. Nair, if I can come to you, same question. What kind of support are you offering to help students and indeed the faculty when they have their new intakes into higher education?
Yeah. So as Jim rightly said, we do start with freshman orientation. We are dealing with teenagers, and we have a mixed environment sometimes when we have working students who come in and who are like about 30 years and plus, because they just suddenly decided that they need to upskill their skills. So there's a huge challenge for us how we deal with it. One of the program we launched is a first year experience program we have at the university, where we make sure that every student goes through that. And this first year experience is a packaging where we are giving them those skills that they definitely need to have, which includes time management, one of them, because that's where they many times forget that they are the decision maker. They are the ones who have to take the whole thing forward. So that is from an academic perspective, we give a set of to do definitely required things. And we also have the Students Affairs Department, which engages them in all kind of various activity, be it sports, be it, any kind of clubbing, you want to take your culture. Very interesting, I'll just give you an example. We have a Japanese club, which is one of the most successful club. And this was started by one single international Japanese student. And the biggest majority of the students who are in members of that club is Emirati students. So, this diversification, we have 83 nationalities that we are catering to. We need to keep them, convey their culture, and at the same time make sure that they are in a very safe and secure environment where they're able to speak and have the freedom to do things. So this first year experience program is packaged in such a way that it goes very well. We also have done what is called as a peer mentoring system. Every 5 student has one peer mentor that takes the responsibility and keep chasing them for the first one semester, asking them, how are you? What is going on? It's not always about academics. Then we have an at-risk student management program where we kind of keep watching them and make sure that they don't fall into the cracks. Many a times, the first few year, they think, oh, these are light courses. We have not started majors. Let's have some extra fun. And they fall into that trap of getting them into failures. So these are the kind of things that we do. For the working students, we have a different package altogether that we have done so that we are able to help them manage their multitasking approach. They have to work, they have to take care of things. So that's one kind of thing. For master students, we have a program where we have a huge master's population at ADU where they are all working. They are all executives in some form or the other and busy with things. So we have given them support through research supports and those things that they need, quick questions and response that needs. And what is interesting in this is it's our own students who are engaged in these activities. We have been successful with a lot of such projects. At the same time, our faculty are very much happy to support. So we have dorms here. We have in-house stays because we have got students from different Emirates joining us. We have a complete, in-house planning, the kind of concept we have in US where we have got housing and all those supports that we give to the students when they are in a housing, this one. So faculty get engaged in those kind of activities. So we have been successful in that. And thanks to the governance of the institution, a lot of investment has gone into building all kind of facility. Imagine we have a 5% Desi community, which is India, Pakistani and Bangladeshi students. We have a cricket pitch for them because cricket is in their blood. They breathe cricket. And we have a team which is a mixture of all these things, and they win tournaments. So we are pretty doing good. And I think the life of the students and getting them to come to universities, not the classrooms alone. Classrooms make a big difference where the faculty play the role. The same faculty, when they step out and start doing extracurricular and co-curricular activities, this gets them wanting to come back. That's why we always been asked, when are we coming back? When are we coming back? So students have started asking us that question. That's all about students' life. That's it from my side, Amma. I can keep talking.
That's always a good sign. And Professor Saha, what are you doing to support your new students and faculty as they come through?
Yes, new students, as other my co-panelists mentioned, orientation is one important thing. But what BRICS philosophy is that, that education is for economic development and leadership development. So we believe that students have to be given opportunity to decide themselves. So it starts from them from the first day itself. I'll say their timetable. Our timetable is a little peculiar in the sense, say there's a multi-section course are there. Say in a particular course, math course, there's 6 sections taught by 6 teachers, which may be in different timing. Student will decide with whom he will go. He will go with X, Aryan Shah or Emma or someone, and what time he can decide that one. Similarly, for the courses or sections, etc., if elective courses are there, they can choose on their own which elective course they prefer according to their own interest or in future. That is one aspect. So decision making starts from the first day. But yes, they are provided the guidance by the teachers and senior students so that take the correct decision. That is one aspect. Second important aspect, Pilani, or I personally believe, a teacher's role doesn't end only in the classroom. It is a more outside the classroom. So that's why we encourage students for a lot of extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, and all these things are managed by themselves only, students only. Only a professor advisor is there, but president, secretary, everything is the students only. So they develop themselves, they decide what they will do. And then particularly knowledge point of view, apart from the class, there is a tutorial where the small group students are taken care by the student so that take it students is learning or not, which is also becoming part of the evaluation component. One more important aspect we take for the students learning is we incorporate an industrial internship as a part of the program, where they spend 7.5 months as a part of academic program. They spend in industries doing projects there, which make them their education link with the professional life. And that is an academic credit they get because of that one. So these are the extracurricular and other processes and their own decision making. Okay, then hands-on training. So they can work beyond institute hours also, they can, laboratories are available, so they can do whatever they want to do, they can utilize that one. And most important part, today's day challenges is not the only giving the knowledge. It is a more important, students should be given how to get the knowledge. That process they have to understand, so that after graduation, they continue get the knowledge on their own. I think that is a challenge which we try to give it, ensure it, that they learn how to get the knowledge. That is the way we are trying to make the teaching and learning is more efficient.
Fantastic. And I'm loving that there's a running theme of time management here as well. You're bringing me back nightmares of my university days where you have a whole semester to do a project and you've got to end up with a week to go and you're like, that was terrible. It was not good. So let's move on to this one. And Jim, if I can start this one with you. What are your university's strategies with regard to research and innovation, and how do you plan to strengthen those capabilities in the future?
Right. Well, being a branch campus has its advantages. So, we are a fairly small group. So we focus on the research strengths that we have locally, but then we have our campuses in Perth and Singapore. And so we try to build research relationships across campuses so that our staff are not working in isolation here in Dubai, but have experienced researchers back at the home campus and at our Singapore campus that they can collaborate with. One of our recent innovations is creating a series of research cafes, as we're calling them, which are informal meeting spaces online for people who are working in the same research area. And they gather together in these online fora and talk about their research, provide each other with support on the kind of research that they're doing. And, we hope build research collaborations that will stretch across campuses. In addition, our home campus, being in Western Australia, it's a dry, arid area with saline soils. So our home campus has a lot of expertise in terms of dryland agriculture, saline agriculture, food security. And these line up so well with the national priorities of the UAE. So we're working with Austrade and the home campus to identify areas of research collaboration with other universities and government bodies in the UAE to contribute to the local economy and the local culture.
Wonderful, thank you. And Dr. Nair, what about you? What about your research and innovation, and what are you looking forward to with the future for it?
Yeah, one of the advantage that I would say that Dr. Jim and Professor Saha is having is that they have mother campuses, and from which they can definitely have strong researchers, and collaborations becomes easy. So Abu Dhabi University for almost for the last, because we are a very young university, we have been in existence only for 16 years now. So Abu Dhabi University has made sure that we do make collaborations with international universities. So we have some good branding and good connections that we have made that we utilize in research collaboration. However, our prime strategy is that we do engage in a lot of faculty-oriented research. So being in Abu Dhabi region, ADEC plays a very important role in supporting. So we were one of the private universities after 2 federal universities that we got the biggest funding and grants for support. So we have participated a lot in research and so on, and we have a good number of faculty who have been engaged in research. So the strategy is very strong. If everybody knows about it, and I think Bits Bilani would know that very well, that we are the first university to launch the undergraduate research program, and it has been the most successful in the region, that from UAE, it became a regional event. So we started having students participate from Oman or Qatar and other parts. So what I'm trying to say is that from undergraduate itself, we are trying to seed in the students the concept of engaging in research, and research matters a lot. We do have professional development funding for faculty to be engaged in research and so on. Plus, we have the concept of research leave in addition to the annual leave that the faculty is taking. So, we are heading towards from moving away from a teaching and learning university as a whole. We are moving to a more of a sophisticated research university. So we have been very successful in the region with students participating in STEM based research competitions and so on. So to put things straight, it is the word. Recently, our board was very supportive. They have announced a big amount of funding for students to create their own startups. So 5 projects will be supported and which will be connected by the board to the outside world too. So students are excited. It's like it doesn't come through that way. So there is a lot of work going around that, and we have to create. That's that we don't have any support from other places. So we are engaged in that kind of work. So I would say that Abu Dhabi University has been successful, and hope we will continue in that path.
Fantastic. It's interesting to hear how kind of you have to do it as more of a standalone. And Professor Saha, if I can come to you with regards to research and innovation, what are you currently up to and what are your plans for the future?
Okay, you see, BITS Pilani always encourage research, and we have, I think we are one of the few universities having PhD program. We have a PhD students, higher degree or master degree, as well as undergraduate. All 3 there is a research component, which can be as undergraduate, it can be as long as 1 semester, where the students can do a thesis under the supervision of its faculty. So it is there in encouraging all 3 campuses, all 3 levels, and then encouragement is there. See, here in UAE, government funding is not as much as it is in India or other foreign countries. So we internally supporting system is there. We have a RIG, Research Initiation Grant. When a new faculty join, get some money. Then there's a competitive basis seed grant. But we also feel that industry can be a good supporter. That's why we encourage faculty to link with industry and solve the industry problem. So we get fund from the industry also. Plus, as Jim said, because we have a mother campus in India, actually we have 3 campuses in India. So faculties are encouraged to collaborate with them and submit joint proposal or take up joint project which can be solved together. Innovation, we encourage very much in innovation. We have an innovation center where the students are given opportunity to work 24/7 on their own independent way. And research and innovations are very much linked today. Then only society development can be happening that way. So we encourage the research, even we support financially to the undergraduate students if they want to present a research paper. As Dr. Naya mentioned, that some competition in Abu Dhabi, they go, we arrange all the facilities for them and participate. They brought laurels from there also, or internationally they presented. I think today a higher institute growth purpose, research and innovation has to be part of the teaching system. Then only it can grow and excel well. I think that is a very, very important. Well, BITS Pilani is always encouraging such things. And that's why we have a lot of international collaboration with foreign universities, and where the faculty are jointly working with other, including I myself have the international collaboration with USA and other universities.
Okay, so we've talked about research and innovation and collaboration with other universities and campuses, but I want to move on to talk about collaborative initiatives with businesses and having productive partnerships to create a culture of academic collaboration and to explore new research opportunities along those lines. Jim, if I can come to you on that one, how important is that to you and what are you working on with respect to that at the moment?
Yes, thanks, Emma. It's absolutely vital. Preparing our students for the world of work is absolutely central to everything that we do. We have a career learning spine that runs through all of our courses so that students are prepared for the world of work. And building relationships with industry is a key component of that. All of our courses, we also have industry advisory panels So we have leading experts from industry, from all across the UAE, who give us advice about our courses, provide us with support, opportunities for networking, opportunities for research. Many of our students end up with internships. Some of them even end up with permanent jobs as a consequence of these important relationships. So absolutely, connections with business and industry are key to everything that we do.
And it can be such a daunting thing, going from college, university to suddenly get opportunities to do work experience and internships and all this sort of thing. So, Dr. Nair, what are you doing at your university when it comes to this?
Okay, so going to the initial point that you were discussing about employers' relationship and what what is the industry doing with regard to that's a challenge. It's not like other places you go back and then the industry start investing into developing new concepts and projects. It's still something that is being discussed and something that really is challenging for us to. However, we do associate. I'll give you a good example. Cleveland Clinic and SEHA, we supported them in generating and creating during the COVID time using the 3D printers to do the shield masks. I'm not a technical person, I cannot use the word, but we has helped them, and that was a community engagement that we did. So there are certain things in which we started associating with them. Health Sciences Department college is working with SEHA right now in creating a center for assessment within the unit here. So there are such things. So we have a very strong limitation when compared to other countries, that still the employer and the industry is not connecting with the education sectors to start engaging in research and innovation and patencies and so on. Recently, we have 5 patents in the university. Everything is from US, so it's a very different. Now, coming to the other part of internship, yes, we do have internship, which is mandated for all of our students to go through. Undergraduate students have to do that. We have a teaching program, so we have to get all the teaching. If they are teachers, we have a different concept for them. If they are not teachers, we get them for practicum for sure. However, the challenge again there is that, the number of students who graduate and the number of setups that we have. So there is this analysis and data that we need to collect, that where are we heading to? If we have almost, let's say, 10,000 engineers getting out, and we have to get them into the industry for for internship, that becomes a real challenge. But we have a unit that works. We have a career and employability department that makes sure that there is this connection. And we are signing MOUs with various industry affiliations so that students get their internship. And to our luck, maybe because of the quality that we deliver, we have a very success rate of 75% being absorbed. That's so many of the institutions look forward and make sure that they come up and do the things. Right now in the pandemic situation, we do have virtual internship that has been successfully running. So I'm not saying that every student gets the opportunity. The best of the best gets that. So around 20% of the students are into virtual internship. So it's very much required. One thing I always have told to where I get an opportunity to speak in ministerial meetings or anything, I think one thing that the region has to really strongly engage is vocational training, and to make sure that how can we build universities and industry, make that connection and start getting students engaged, because we have the brain and the smartness in young adults. We should not completely always rely on other sources. Maybe you have an idea that you will get, this is to the industry, you may get an idea from a youngster who is just an intern of yours. So that's where we have challenges, and I think a long way to go. Thank you.
And Professor Sahar, if I can come to you, what are your how are you doing with collaborative opportunities with businesses and research?
Okay, I'll tell about the internship which I mentioned earlier. In all our undergraduate program as well as postgraduate program, this internship is a part of the academic program. where the students are supposed to spend 7.5 months in industry in a two-part. One is 2 months after second year before third year during the summer, which is a 5 unit course. So we have linkages with 100 industries across UAE, including Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, and Dubai, etc. What is that? The students go for this 5 unit course, and the teacher will be involved there. And all students are supposed to do this, and to a teacher along with the industry person evaluate and award the grades. Then again in final year, 5.5 months, they do live project in the company. Half of the students go in the first semester, half of them go in the second semester. So that way we have 100 companies. At this moment, I can say 200 students are doing the internship, which is a 5.5 months. They are not required to come to the campus. They are only going to the industry as a full time and doing the project, their live project there. And because the company get benefit, they also pay a allowance to the students. And that also help the students to get the placement. So this is all option for all students. Okay, but some students, instead of this internship, can go for a research, which I said, for a 5.5 months, he can do a research. So this gave them, and this is started with planning in 1974. So 35 years it is running on, like a same idea of medical. Okay, so this is one type of linkages with 100 companies are there. Second, in the research and consultancy, we do understand the importance of relationship. So we do research or problem solving. I can name few companies like Star Cements. Okay, then I have some health sciences companies where we are solving their problem, and by that process we are getting the research collaboration and the training program for their staff also. That is where we are developing the industry and business collaboration, which helps on the placement of the students in the job. I know your time is short, that's why I'm keeping it short.
That's okay. Yeah, I just want to get through the next question quite quickly, if that's okay. So a big thing for me, the UAE is huge on encouraging entrepreneurship and building entrepreneurial ideas, and it's becoming a global prominence thing here in the UAE, and pioneering ideas. How are you supporting the UAE's goal of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem, and how are you creating that culture of innovation in your university? Jim, if I can start you with that one, please.
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier our career learning spine, and one of the options in the career learning spine is to take the pathway that goes through consulting and freelancing. So students learn how to establish their own business, how to put together a business plan, how to go through the steps that are required for regulatory approval and licensing and so on. So we encourage them to have that option, because a lot of our students aren't looking to go out and find a job in an existing company. They're actually looking to go out and set up their own companies. And I think that's one of the unique things about the UAE, is that strong emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurship. It is so pervasive in the culture that it feeds through to our students as well. And so they are looking for those opportunities, and we do everything that we can to support them. The university also runs an entrepreneurship competition every year called Think Big, where teams of students come up with their ideas. They're given expert workshops and support to develop them into business ideas. And then a team from each of the 3 campuses is chosen as the finalists. And then they go as a group to one campus or another. Last year it was to Perth, to have a final competition where they pitch their ideas and the winners receive a prize that helps them to develop the idea into a business. And in fact, some of these winning teams have had their ideas already successfully develop into businesses that are up and running. And last year was our second year in the competition as the Dubai campus, and I'm pleased to report that the Dubai team was the winning team. So very proud of the success of our students in that competition.
Fantastic, loving all the information. And Dr. Nair, you already touched on it when I spoke to you just now, saying that your students were creating the face shields and coming up with ideas. So how are you encouraging entrepreneurs and getting youngsters to think kind of outside the box and come up with their own ideas for the future?
Yeah, so as I said, one of the things that we have already done is that innovation is just, we have an innovation developmental program which starts from year one, day one of the beginning, as it's a part of the first year experience program. In addition to that, we have innovation centers. We do, as I said, the board has invested a good amount of money recently on engaging in 5 startups. It should come from our own students. And we have been successful in connecting with Ministry of Education in Stanford, where they have a fellowship program for undergraduate students in introducing and being project-based. So we had, and very interestingly, 3 batches of female students were successful in the last 2 years in being a part of those fellowship programs with Stanford. So this is how in undergraduate we do that. In parallel to that, we do have with master's students who are engaged in creating, bringing in ideas and getting that into a real world business format. We have a series of industry-based connections where we are getting, successful startup to come and speak to students what needs to be done. We also engage in the legal concept of the whole thing because we have a college of law. So we do support students, and also we have a platform where we are supporting them. What are the legalities and everything needs to be done for startup. So we are in a transformational phase right now with the board supporting so much. Innovation has been the buzzword for a pretty long time now. Entrepreneurship is coming into play now. What can you do differently? What can you do? So even the smallest to the biggest, internally we support new ideas. And so one of the things we did was we got our architect and interior design students. We launched a new Alain campus, it's completely designed by our students. So we are getting students to get there and start getting themselves engaged in that, which was rewarded by the board. So these are the things that we are doing a lot, and a full-fledged plan is there. We have an innovation strategy that is up and running.
Fantastic. There's so much talent here, so many creative ideas, and it's absolutely brilliant. Professor Saha, what are you doing to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation amongst your students?
BITS Pilari has a history of innovation, and that's why each campus has a technology business incubation, and plenty of alumni have successful entrepreneurs in USA and other countries also. What we do it here also similarly, I mentioned we have a innovation center, which is a free for all students 24/7. They can do whatever they like it. And no teacher is necessary there. And then we created a competition every year. Last year, we conducted a competition where the whole prize money was donated by the alumni. And it was given as a prize money to startup. And I tell you, about 50 group of students participated in that. We made it compulsory group interdisciplinary. And then it was evaluated by the experts from industry and other people. And then 5 companies already established that one. Then I tell you, last 3 years, 20 plus companies have been established where I have a 3rd year, 4th year student. They are the CEO of the company which they are running as a startup. So 20 plus companies have been established that way. I can give you one name which is well known, Wrap Up, which came into several newspapers and other things. Last year, it has been taken over by Cisco. Other things we do, we have some courses offering, which is done cross-campus wise and even taught by alumni, is called creation of venture capital, entrepreneurship development. So we support the students to go for entrepreneurship development so that it has really made it successful and it is helping in the business in India. Actually, last 2 days back also, you will find some newspaper item where the BITS Pilari student startup are written there. So I think this is really picking up very well and helping the UAE development.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for your answers to the questions that I've thrown at you. It's now the time of the webinar where I take some questions from our participants, the people that have been watching. So Jim, I'm going to start this one for you because it's from your part of the world. And it basically says, hi, I'm finishing year 12 in New Zealand and I'm moving back to Dubai in January of next year. Can I join an undergraduate course or would I have to do a foundation course before that?
So, I would have to actually see the academic record that we're talking about to give a definitive answer. But if the student is finishing year 12 in New Zealand, then my expectation would be almost certainly they would be able to join directly into the undergraduate program without going through a foundation year.
Okay, thank you for that one. And Dr. Nair, I'll ask this one of you. Please, can you explain how the student visa works for international students, including the restrictions on age and the region? Thank you very much.
Okay, so age is something that has not come into discussion so far because it's always allowed for any age group of students to join any kind of program. So that has never been a challenge. But definitely the education system they come from is very important. If the student is looking for an undergraduate program, we have to make sure that the Ministry of Education has an equivalency for the student for the high school certification they have done so that they can be admitted. So that's the first step towards the requirement. For the masters, it stands the same. We need to find out if they are eligible and their equivalency is accepted, because many a times we have challenges if the student has done a bachelor's, which is an online, and they are looking for a face-to-face full-time. There are few challenges to be done. There are core courses that they may need to complete because suddenly they decided to move from one pathway to another pathway. So there are such things. But in general, UAE has been very positive in attracting international students. The visa processes are not the hurdle. It is the qualifications that they have and what it requires to be done. Many a times the admissions office manages to take care of that. Rest, the visa process comes as soon as the university has given them admission and is saying that they are ready to go. So the university is the one that takes the responsibility to then deal with the visa process. And for us, we have a visa processing unit under the Students Affairs, which takes care of the whole thing. So that's where it stands. Then one of the things that students many times ask is about Arabic language requirement for undergraduate program. I have spoken to many students about this, that they can be assured that that is not a mandated requirement. Ministry definitely looks at it. They give the equivalency. They are required to come and do a course, which is kind of a ministerial requirement. CA requires all the students studying in UAE under CA accreditation units to do a course in Arabic, which is a very basic non-native Arabic courses that they can do. And it's nice to always learn the language that you're going to be around with. So this is what I would always advise the students. So things are more promising and easier.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Professor Saha, this one is for you. I'm planning to pursue my master's in the UAE. Do universities offer opportunities for campus placements?
Yes, BITS Pilani has a campus facilities, and we offer this campus placement for undergraduate as well as postgraduate also. Even we, as per KHDA guidelines, even a student studying while he can also do a part-time job. So that also we help so that they can earn while they are learning also. So that possibility is there. Placement is also made.
Okay, great. And Jim, I'm coming back to you for this one. I like this question a lot. My son wants to launch a company after completing his studies. We're getting in there with the entrepreneurial innovation. What kind of courses are going to help him to pursue his entrepreneurial ambitions?
Well, I think that's a tricky question. It depends on so many factors. But I think it's really about whether entrepreneurship and innovation are a part of the DNA of the institution. So depending on what area you would like to launch a company might help you guide you into a particular discipline area. But like I said earlier, we have our career learning spine and we also have launched an entrepreneurship and employability center called EDGE, Murdoch EDGE, which runs webinars and all kinds of support activities, brings in experts from outside who've gone through this process of launching their own business to give students guidance and advice. And I think it's that ecosystem of being involved in innovation and entrepreneurship across all of your programs that is most important for preparing to go into launching your own business.
I love that. Someone's obviously thinking ahead very, very early on, which is fantastic. It's great to see questions like that. And Dr. Nair, my final question here is for you. It basically says, I couldn't start my semester in September. If I enroll in January, how will I be able to compensate for lost hours in terms of course content and my attendance?
Okay. So if you're going with the semester system, which is the general pattern that we all follow in the region, they can definitely catch up. Spring becomes their start of the semester. Maybe I'm speaking from an Abu Dhabi University's perspective, which runs with an US model of education. We do have what is called as the summer term, in which the missed out sessions that they would have, got backlogged because they missed the fall semester and they have started in January now. So they can catch up during summer on the most important prerequisite and key courses, which the advisor will sit with them and they can catch up and they can fall in track with the rest of the batch which started in fall. Again, we have a winter term, which is the next term. After the fall, we have a winter term in which we can catch up. So from January to next December, the student would have fallen into track so that they are now smoothly running in one cohort with their with the September peer that has joined. So I would always say that at least for us, we have a very open, flexible program and programs in which the schedules are done in such a manner that we support the students if they miss out. And many a times, the competencies and the requirements that the students need, like English, MSAT, IELTS scores required. Sometimes they have to bring other things which delays, but they can catch up. So that's how the system works. And I think most of the regional institutions work in the same manner. So they generally don't get delayed much.
Okay, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for now. I just want to remind you, our viewers, that you can get all the information you need on our speakers and their universities can be found using the speakers and booth links to the top left of your screen. I would like to say a huge thank you to BITS Pilani, Dr. Saha, Professor Saha from there, Abu Dhabi University, Dr. Nair, and also Dr. Trotter from Murdoch University. I think we can well and truly deduce that the UAE is fantastic for higher education. It's a great for international students to come and experience something globally, so many things that they can learn here, and we look forward to all that in the future. Thank you once again for joining me for this webinar. It's been an absolute pleasure, very informative, very interesting, and it's been wonderful to speak to you all.
Thank you very much, Emma. And it was nice to have you as a coordinator.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. And we will see you a bit later on for the next Gulf News EduFair webinar a little bit later on this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks to panelists also.